Today, we are jumping into one of the most detailed and sometimes confusing books in the Bible, Leviticus. You read this stuff and wonder, why is there a specific rule for the long lobe of the liver? It can feel a little random. But what if we are actually looking at a detailed blueprint for how an entire community relates to God? To really get what is going on here in chapter 7, we have to stop thinking of these rules as just a long list of do's and don'ts. Instead, let's look at them as the operating manual for the very heart of the community, the altar. It was a place where every single physical action and every tiny detail had a highly specific and vital purpose. One of the biggest jobs of that altar was to fix things when they went wrong. Right at the center is the guilt offering. Its entire purpose was atonement, restoring a person's relationship with God, and the process is laid out with surgical precision. It starts with slaughtering the animal and using its blood. Then only the richest fatty parts, the kidneys and the lobe of the liver, are removed to be burned. These were a special gift. Only after that sacred portion was offered up did the rest of the meat go to the priest. The text quickly tells us that the rules for the sin offering are basically identical. The key thing to understand is the shared outcome. The person is successfully made right with the Lord, and the priest who facilitates the ritual receives the meat. But not every offering was about fixing a problem. That brings us to the peace offerings. These were all about celebration. This wasn't just a sacrifice, it was framed as a sacred dinner party shared with God and your community. The rules actually changed depending on why you brought the offering. A Thanksgiving offering came with bread and had a strict deadline. Everything had to be eaten that very same day. If it was a voluntary gift, the rules were more relaxed, giving you until the end of the second day to finish the meal. But there was a hard stop, the third day. Any sacred meat left over until day 3 was no longer holy. It was considered contaminated and had to be completely destroyed by fire. Holy things have a spiritual expiration date. They demand immediate attention. With all these rituals, you have to ask, who is doing all this work? This system also functioned as the priest's livelihood. It was a sacred salary. They kept the animal's hide from a burnt offering. For celebratory peace offerings, the breast and the right thigh were always set aside for them. The text is emphatic. This was a permanent share from generation to generation, building their support directly into the religious fabric. Now we shift gears to 2 absolute prohibitions that applied to every single person. These were the hard lines you did not cross. First, you must never eat fat from cattle, sheep, or goats. That was reserved only for the Lord. Second, you must never consume blood from any creature, because the blood held the life force. The penalty for breaking these fundamental laws was severe, being totally cut off and exiled from the community. So, what does it all mean? When you zoom out, you see 3 main pillars holding the whole system up. You have atonement to repair the relationship, communion to celebrate it, and provision to sustain the priests. This entire system is grounded in divine commands given to Moses on Mount Sinai, giving it ultimate authority. The specific rules about fat, blood, and the third day belong to a different time, but the ideas behind them, the need to make things right, the importance of sharing meals, and having clear boundaries, are universal. This leaves us with 2 questions to ask ourselves. What are the unspoken rules and boundaries that hold your own community today? And how do you actively repair relationships and share the sacred meals that define who you are? Take a moment, breathe, and let them sink in.